Hey guys, welcome back to The Growing Place.
Hey y'all!
Stop touching the table, you're making the mic waver.
Oh man, I got excited.
Well, I'm excited too. I love filming these.
It's a lot of fun.
So, one of the things we were talking about is, we're very involved with our church. We've talked about that in other episodes and whatnot. But something that kind of we realize that we both mutually do is the arts and how we think it's kind of important to churches in general.
Oh, it's important. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Why the arts are important in a church setting. Buckle in.
So one of the things, like for my involvement as far as that goes, or just my history with the arts, not so much in the Christian environment, but just kind of give you my backstory with it, is, for those who don't know, I grew up in the arts. When I was a kid, I loved putting on little performances at home. I loved being the center of attention and stuff like that. I loved the spotlight. I was always the lead in all the church plays that I did growing up at the kids' plays. I was always casted as the lead.
I didn't know you liked the spotlight as a kid.
I kind of forget about it sometimes.
Huh.
And then it just kind of hits me and I'm like, oh yeah, I used to love it.
Now. Yeah.
Well, when I was in 8th grade going into 9th grade, it was one of those days where it's one of those moments you just can remember so clearly. My mom was talking to my sisters. It was in my mom's minivan at the time. I was sitting in the very back and they were sitting in the middle row. And my mom was talking about telling my sisters about a dance ministry that our friend does and host. And she was thinking it would be something cool for them to try. Well, I remember I ended up asking my mom, I said, hey, are there any guys that do this kind of thing? She said, I think there's a couple of them there. And I said, okay, sign me up. And they whipped their heads to look back at me and they're like, what? And I'm like, well, I got nothing else to do over the summer, so why not? I'll give it a shot. And it was a Christian dance organization. I don't know if I said that part, like that it was Christian, but I ended up doing it. Me and my brother did it. And there was like us two and then one other guy in a group of 40 girls. And that was intimidating horribly. My brother ended up doing it for 2 summers. I did it for 12 years, not just in the summer, but in the spring and the winter as well. My brother left after 2 years just because he was like, man, not really my thing. Me, on the other hand, I was like, oh, this is 100% my thing. And then in my junior year of high school, I ended up joining our local youth theater group, and I was in 4 plays with them. And then again, I did more church plays where I was casted as the lead a couple more times. And then I became really obsessed with film and TV and stuff like that and how they're made. So I did a lot of, like, I didn't go to school for it. I wanted to, but I didn't. And I just ended up studying that kind of stuff. I would take online courses made by people in the industry and stuff like that. I would watch every YouTube video I could find. I read so many books. I studied how things were shot and made and what makes like a movie good or what makes it interesting and what draws people to them. So I became very much into all that. Anyone who knows me knows I have like a massive movie collection of like, or I say massive, but to me it's small, but to everyone else it's massive. So I'm only because it's like 700 something DVDs, something like that. And some people's like, that's so many. And I'm like, it's not really, but
I would say for the average person, non-movie fanatic, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But didn't you record, or direct and film a couple short films?
I've directed a few. I've shot a couple. I've written more than I've done. It was one of those things where I wrote a good handful of them, but I didn't have the resources to be able to film them. I didn't have the equipment or the people. And it's not even as much the equipment, but it's the people. If you don't have people to shoot with, I mean, like, you can't make a movie without people. And some of them I just wrote where it's just that it would cost more for me to make than I had, but I have them all written down in a journal somewhere. But I studied script writing and like how to write a script and how to format a script. A lot of people don't realize how to format a script. There is a specific way to do it. And then there's like, you know how there's different types of scripts. You've got your actor scripts, your director script. Like I'm telling you, this is like my thing. I love this stuff. And even now, and Gabby will talk more about it than I will, but our church recently, her, me, and a few others have put together like a theater team for our church. And I think I can say this, what our play is, because we've already announced it. So we're doing a play this year. We're doing a parody, like our Christian parody take on The Grinch, that they helmed me to both write, direct, and then star as The Grinch. I'm not going to do it right now, maybe closer to that time, but I have a very good Jim Carrey Grinch impersonation. And
it's going to be a hilarious, God-filled play. And you guys come out.
I'm telling you, it is. I wrote it in a way where it actually makes sense and it keeps true to the original. But so I know it's like, oh, it's gonna be so cringy, and it probably will be. But I wrote it in a very comedic nature.
So far, I mean, we've already started practices.
And yes, it might at the time. I don't know when this episode's going out, but we're recording it in June, and yes, we start that early because we are dedicated, okay? Like, we want it to be good.
And I can talk more about why that happened. But even in repeating the same scenes, the audience that we've had observing the scenes laugh every time.
I thought one of our friends was actually going to pee herself.
Yeah, it's so much fun having all of our play practices. But we got a great team of cast. They're amazing. That's
my history with stuff like that. And also, I've met a lot of directors, both play and film and TV show directors. I'm friends with a successful film producer and stuff like that. I've got friends in the industry that I talk to about films behind the scenes and production stuff. Again, that's just my thing. And so I've always just been involved with that. So when Gabby kind of approached me with this, I was like, 100% I'm involved. I will gladly be a part of this. And that's my history with all that. I've actually been on a TV show, but it hasn't come out yet. I don't know when it's supposed to be airing, but they got delayed. But it'll be on Amazon Prime at some point. Yeah, it's only for an episode. I'm only in that one episode for that show, but it was still a fun experience, and they could tell I was so interested in it. They actually let me work on the set.
Wait a minute. I thought like someone reached out to you to act, but it didn't work out.
No, that was that film producer.
Huh.
This is a totally different thing outside of that.
Did I miss this?
Probably. No, I'm sure I've mentioned it.
Huh.
But anyways, that's a story for a different day. But that's my history with the arts. Gabby, hit me with yours. Give me the full story.
Much like you, since I was a kid, I loved performing. So, I was the girl at home watching the Cheetah Girls, High School Musical, and I've always loved dance. I've always loved music and the unique ability to just express yourself through dance, through movement. So I would always, first of all, I love musicals like movies, and I would get really hype with them and learn the choreography. And then, of course, I'd be like, okay, mom or family. And I would perform in front of them very excitedly. But growing up, when I was in elementary school, was honestly the last time that I ever acted in a play. So I did one when I was maybe in second grade, and then fifth grade, they wanted me for the lead. And I was a little bit too embarrassed because I think I was supposed to be some old mean lady, and I was like, I don't want them to make fun of me. Like, what if it's not something I can't remember. But sometimes things like that, caring too much about what other people would have thought, can lead you to pass an opportunity. But as a kid, I always wanted to act, dance, and sing and make that a career. Like, I wanted to be a performer, and I always felt like the stage was my home.
Me too.
Well, ever since then, with acting and anything related to singing, I just kind of like, no, let's not pursue that. I try to just stay off the stage. But when it comes to dancing, I will take that step forward. And that just has to do a lot with how I grew up. But in high school, I did take part of a hip hop dance team. So that was a lot of fun, a lot of team building. So there was just a lot of opportunities that I couldn't really take as a kid, whether it was through a dance academy or singing, whatever the case may be. It just kind of wasn't something that was affordable for my mom. Unlike Dakota, I didn't really grow up in this Christian setting, so there weren't like Christian ministries that I could lean into and maybe join. I don't know how much they charge or if they even do charge, but I say if your child has that gift, that talent, when they're a toddler or preschool or even elementary school age, and they're coming to you excited about singing or dancing or acting, definitely give them opportunities to grow in that and see where it takes them. Because I think it's very easy for kids to become discouraged in those natural abilities God gave them, but also parents maybe with the hope to protect their child and wanting to set them up for a better future.
And see,
might shut that down, which is kind of what happened to me. So
yeah, I'll have something to say on that in a little bit but continue going.
So after high school, I didn't dance again. Like, I didn't go through any formal training or whatever. The things that I can do are just the natural ability God gave me. But after high school, I did not dance again, like on a stage until free water. And God's beautiful in the sense of like easing you into things at times.
Mm-hmm.
So he started with like VBS and etc. And then
I forgot all about VBSs.
So I did that for 2 years, and then, like choreographed and performed with Ivory, I think, for 2 years. And then I did another one later with the dance team that was birthed through the Greatest Show play that we did a few years ago. So, and then I started just doing it for special occasions for Easter and all that good stuff. So,
and like, I'll say this to Gabby's credit, I was a dancer for 12 years, but I was not naturally gifted in it. I had to work extremely hard. Yeah, Gabby is a lot more gifted in it than I was.
Well, I appreciate your uplifting. You're quite the encourager, but I am just grateful to see everybody's abilities and use that for God's glory. Honestly, at our church, there have been so many people that God has brought that have such amazing abilities in the arts and other areas too, like audiovisual, camera, etc. But just specifically talking about the arts, I think we're just truly so blessed at Free Water that God just keeps bringing them in. They're talented, they're anointed, they're gifted. And I'm so grateful that we have leadership that really encourages ministries that allow people to be themselves and just flow in the gifting. And I've gotten that same feedback from people that are in our play right now.
It's one of the things we were talking about with the play that we're in is it doesn't feel like, and this is not an insult per se, but there is like a stigma where you have quote unquote church actors in the sense of it's like you're just scrounging up people that you have and most of them can't act or are just, when they do, it just sounds like they're reading off a page. But the people we have right now that we're very fortunate to have and that wanted to do it.
Oh, yes.
They all very clearly want to be there.
Yes, you can see the passion.
And like everyone is on the first real practice we had, not just a table read, everyone was giving it like 100%. Mm-hmm. Like they weren't just like, you could tell that a lot of them didn't even sound like they were reading the words off a page.
They were focused.
It was the first time they'd ever seen this version of the script, and they're reading it like they've been acting it the whole time.
Yeah, they've already like taken on the role. And so that's why it was hilarious, because they're making it their own and they all have great ideas, and I'm sure there will be a lot of improv when it comes to the actual performance.
I certainly hope so. As a director, I certainly love to encourage that kind of nature.
But coming back to why we're having June practices for a Christmas play is, back in the day, like Dakota was saying, with the whole church actors, usually churches would have people volunteer to act, to be part of cast and crew, because there's usually not a lot to pick from, and maybe not everybody has that gifting or that desire to be on stage. So this year we actually hosted auditions. So people that maybe normally or naturally wouldn't have been thought of for a role, or maybe they wouldn't have thought themselves for that role, would have felt more open to try it out. And we really realized how much talent there is beyond, like, people that we wouldn't have expected. But the beauty... Go ahead.
I was going to say, we were definitely surprised by some of these people.
Oh, yeah. Pleasantly surprised. But the birth of our drama team pretty much started last year. We knew we wanted to do The Grinch for several years. We're trying to make that happen. And I was like, you know what? We're going to do this thing. So I'm talking to Pastor Melissa, who has been the director and writer of our previous Christmas plays, which is The Greatest Show. Shout out to her. She did not only the directing and the writing, but she did a lot of the administrative stuff and scheduling and all of that, which is a lot on just one person. So I wanted to make our pastor's vision come alive. Let's make The Grinch happen. We've been talking about it for years. And I want a lot of the load to come off of our amazing Pastor Melissa, because she rocks and she does so many amazing things in our church to just really keep it going. Our pastors will say what do they say about the wheels? Like, she's keeps the wheels turn, something like that. Something like that. So I was like, I know people that are interested in directing and writing, acting, and I know are good at it. So I just started reaching out to people and created this team. And I was like, okay, we're going to meet in January. We're going to talk about it. We're going to write this script. We're going to do all of this. So then we can have practices in June, et cetera, because I knew that we needed a long time for practices, just so we could ease any sort of stress or pressure on the entire cast, crew, and the drama team. So I'm glad we started at the very beginning of January, because it's been flowing smoothly, I would say.
I would agree.
And it just gives room for things needing to be rearranged if needed, so that's where my planning abilities come in. I like to be that far in advance when it comes to things that need that. What is the word? They need to have that structure. There we go. That structure. So now that planning for that is a lot of fun and a great challenge for my brain. So it's exciting.
And as we've talked about in previous episodes, she loves her planning.
Absolutely. Anything administrative, I'm like, there for it. And actually, I've been like that since I was a kid. Funny enough, my mom wanted me to go into business administration, and I took that freshman year of high school. And it's sad to say, I would fall asleep a lot of the time. And I was like, it ain't for me. It's
one of those things where it's not fun to hear about, but it's fun to do.
Yeah, well, business is just not for me. I'm not that girl.
Yeah,
administration, I'm here for it. I love it.
So that's kind of our history with, arts as a ministry. But I mean, like, I've always loved watching stuff like that. I've loved watching, specifically in the Christian environment, I've loved watching plays and dance performances and stuff like that. There was this thing that we had called Fine Arts, where there were performances and like people would compete. Again, Christian environment, and I went to it to watch as a kid, and I always thought it was so cool. I didn't do stuff like that, or I wasn't involved with that at the time, and it's like now I'm like, dang, if I would have just gone back, I probably could have won a few things with how I grew in it, but that's the past. But it's so important because something that I like, as I've said, I'm a movie person. And this is gonna anger some people. I can already tell. I can hear the angry comments coming. Christian movies tend to suck.
Uh-oh.
I'm
we
just
used
saying,
to argue about this. Like, not bad argue, but we used to kind of like...
I think we can agree on some things. And there's a reason. Like, most of the earlier Christian movies from like the early 2000s and stuff like that, the acting is not there.
Okay, I understand. This is what you and I used to talk about years ago. I understand the acting, maybe some of the script, etc., might seem a little bit...
It's because
bland.
They didn't have as much to work with. And like,
right.
I understand that.
Go.
And that's the thing. I'm not discrediting that. I'm not saying that's like, oh, they suck because they suck. It's like, no, they were limited. The only thing I think that could have been better is typically some of the writing. They always wrote it in a more, everything always works
kind
out
of basic
cheesy
way.
Yeah, very Hallmark. Very Hallmark way. What I love now, though, are modern Christian films. I think we have gotten some amazing ones like Jesus Revolution, The Forge. There have been a lot of ones recently where I'm like, wow, I really enjoyed this. Like, not just as a Christian movie, but as a movie in general.
Yeah, well, shout out to the director of the Jesus Revolution. He is now directing House of David on Prime Video.
And that's another thing. The Chosen. The Chosen was made by people who wanted to make it. It wasn't like some big industry.
Gosh, don't get me started on The Chosen, because I know all about its history.
See,
and how it got started.
And that's the thing. I know people who do not care about a lot of things, but they have tuned into some of these things. There is a Christian movie. It's one of my favorites.
Is it the sci-fi one?
No.
Oh.
No, I didn't care. I mean, that one's okay, but no. Wow, I'm actually Sound of Hope.
Oh,
Sound of Freedom. That one's controversial for its subject matter and who makes it. But Sound of Hope specifically, it's all about adoption and stuff like that. Like, that movie to me, as if somebody, and I'll talk about this in other episodes.
It's a true story.
Yeah, I'm a huge advocate for adoption and fostering, like, the right way. And it's the fact that it's a true story, and it has one of the best and most accurate depictions of a worship scene in, like, that I've ever seen put to film or television. Like, it literally felt like I was in the room with it. Like, everyone I talked to said, like, wow, we really...
What is that? Oh, is that your saber?
That was my lightsaber.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if
Dakota.
I don't know if the audio picked that up, but I did.
Oh my word. He just got some sabers delivered today. That's the package he was waiting on.
Don't judge me. But anyways, bunny trailing off. Everyone I talked to just said they really felt God. And like, that's the thing that movies can do. Movies can move people, whether it's Christian or not. Like, you look at certain movies and it's like, all it takes is one cinematic sounding like background music, and it can change the emotion in the room. And like, movies, television, plays, they have that power behind them. You can really move people and gain people's attention. So if you can do that in the right Christian environment, if you can send the right messages, it's awesome. And then there are a lot of like movie stars and stuff like that who have been, and musicians and stuff like that, who have been coming to Christ because of these movies. They're like, there is an actor, his name is Stephen Yun. He plays in a lot of different things. You've probably, like, he's one of those actors you don't recognize the name right away, but you see him and you're like, oh, I've seen him in like a million things. He actually, in a TV show, it's not a good TV show, it's not, but there was a scene that he always likes to bring up as his, like, a crazy scene for him. He's a terrible guy in the show, that's the point. But he goes to this church service that his old friends are the pastors of, and they sing "Come to the Altar," and he starts breaking down, crying in the middle of the scene. Well, he says that wasn't at all planned. He literally said that he felt the mood, like he felt just a presence on him, and that in the filming of this scene, like, the worship just overtook him, and he just, and like, I don't know if he said that he was a Christian or not, but he said that he felt power in that worship. So the raw emotion that we get to see on the screen of this scene, it is like, you can feel it. And that's why I think now, Hollywood is a terrible place, don't get me wrong. And Broadway, it's brutal. But there is good that can be done if you get the right people in.
And I think, too, there are just so many testimonies that I can speak on that I've heard from even just The Chosen. Like, people that typically wouldn't pick up the Bible and read it are getting bits and pieces from the Bible through television and getting to see real life stories like Jesus Revolution and what God has done in this nation. And there is such thing as revival.
It's just a matter of where to look. If you're like kind of like Gabby was saying, is that parents will sometimes discourage their kid from going into stuff. And again, Hollywood's a terrible place. I'm not saying that.
Well,
like,
I'm not a fan of Hollywood either.
Yeah, the film industry, I understand that. But you shouldn't dissuade your kids from wanting to be involved with the arts. Find local theater groups for them. Find... But here's the thing. As parents, now granted, most of us are young adults that are listening, but there are Christian environments where people can do this places, or they're run by Christian people. You just have to know where to look. I mean...
And definitely pray on choosing where to go.
And here's the thing, if you don't feel comfortable with any of the ones around you, start your own.
Right.
I think in my dance organization, when I was growing up, it was started by a woman who I very much appreciate. She loved dance. She went to college for it and decided to start her own her Christian dance ministry. And now it is like completely blown up. Like in the last, I want to say 2 or 3 years, like it has, I mean, she's been doing this for over 20 years now, but in the last few years, it has
Is that
really
Dancing Daughters?
Huh?
Is that Dancing Daughters?
No.
Dang.
No, it's a cross movement dance. Shout out.
That's the one you did.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, I missed that.
Shout out, Mayor. Heck. But no, like she took it into her own and she did her own thing, and it took a while, but I mean, it's just blown up. And we have one person who did it most of her life with cross movement. She's on Broadway. Like, she has actually been on Broadway since leaving cross movement.
So I do want to say the greatest show is what brought me to Free Water. Because I love plays, acting, etc. Tell the story. Well,
you kind of did.
I did it in the first episode.
Highlight recap.
Well, I watched it through YouTube because, like I said, I didn't show up. You know, people out there that have struggled with anxiety, you know what that's like, especially when, you grow up like having a bit of a dislike for church. So, but I watched it online, and that's what actually drew me in. I loved it so much that I was like, okay, Irie, you gotta take me to everything your church is doing. And that's how I got involved, and I met everyone, and I loved it. My first service there was actually the candlelight service for Christmas, and it was all singing. So I didn't really hear a sermon until after the new year, which I think is right before I got saved, or the same day or something. But long story short, it brought me to Free Water. And that was 2019. We didn't do another Christmas play until 2022 because you got COVID. Yeah. So much is kind of in the way. And then I was assistant directing and choreographing for that, which you starred in.
Yep. Lead.
And yes, he was the lead, y'all.
Spotlight. I like the spotlight, if you can't tell.
But I know people towards the end, when they do the altar call, etc.
Yeah, well,
actually gave their lives. There's people that came to our church because of that play. And I just want to testify to this. My mom brought my niece and nephew to the service. I didn't know they were coming to that service, but I don't know if I found out somehow or if the Holy Spirit just kind of like I just knew they were probably in there. And it was a different pastor that actually gave the altar call that night. But it really spoke to them. I mean, my niece was 5. My nephew must have been 11? I don't know.
12, I think.
2022.
No, you're right. 11.
It was 3 years ago. 12. Probably 12.
12 or whatever.
Something like that.
Semantics.
Yes, doesn't matter. My mom tells me that when it comes to the part where you raise your hand if you want to become a believer and say the prayer, etc. And okay, they were both so what would you say? their eyes were just locked on the plays, just watching it the whole time, just super invested and just drawn into the play. So by the end, they both raised their hand and said the prayer, etc., and got saved that night. So I had someone come up to me afterwards and tell me about that, and I bawled my eyes out. I had someone ask me if I was okay, and it's like, it was just so beautiful and full circle moment. Can I just say that is what the arts can do, whether it's dance, acting, singing.
There is a our dance cross movement, they offered us, like, every year we could buy a DVD to rewatch the performances. I will, every now and again, I just get nostalgic and I want to revisit it, but there is certain songs in dances that I will never forget, because there is one, and we danced to the song Second Chances by Ren Collective. It was a dance I was in for the adults, and we danced to it, and it was like a simple ballet. It was beautiful, and the whole message behind it was, God gives us second chances and stuff like that. And I've shown you the video where at the end of it, there's a cross, or throughout the whole dance, there's a cross on the stage. And at the end of it, a bunch of the kids and the young adults and the teens, they all come up with a piece of paper with different words on it. And like, I'm sure you've seen this in different churches and different things, but they're like pinning them to the cross. And then we do this really cool thing towards the end of the song where a red curtain comes over the cross representing the blood. And then a white curtain.
Oh my gosh.
Or no, the red curtain goes up and there was a white curtain behind it. And then the white curtain goes up and the cross is completely cleaned up. Like, all the papers are gone. It's completely cleared off.
I would cry.
And it was beautiful. And at this point in the dance, we all just sit there and we're looking at the cross, just so thankful for it. And we had a whole, and it's so cool. And again, like, storytelling wise, there's like the movie The Prince of Egypt. So I know it's not, 100% biblically accurate, but it gets the point across for the most part. And we danced to the soundtrack of that movie. We spent the entire second, so we split into two parts. We had the first half, an intermission, and then the second half. We've never done this before, and we haven't done it since. The entire first half was a performance about Moses and Aaron. I played Aaron in that role, and it showed like the it's not the 7 plagues, but it showed the plagues, 10 plagues. 10. I was thinking of the 7 deadly sins, and I'm like, nope, that's not right. It showed the plagues. It showed Pharaoh. It showed him getting picked out of the water by Pharaoh's daughter. I mean, like, it was so beautiful.
I saw one recently about the prodigal son.
Ooh,
and I didn't get it at first. I'm like, is that a brain? It was a piece of bread. But no, I went to a recital recently that a friend invited me to for her daughter, and I cried. Woo! Man, I think that was my first ever Christian recital that I went to. I went to one of yours, actually. But this was like all female dancers. It's a dance ministry. I believe it's called Dancing Daughters. Beautiful work. Great storytelling. So many dances. I mean, girls of all ages, and the creativity to tell so many stories every year, different stories, even twice a year, because they'll have, different performances throughout the year. It's amazing. So much work and dedicated that you have to put into it. So much work and dedication that you have to put into it. Mm-hmm. But I cried. It ministered to me. I really needed that. So my goal, if I'm up there dancing, I'm like, okay, Lord, I want to touch people's hearts. I want whatever needs to get across them, the message. I want it to reach them. I want, lives and hearts transformed, pointed back to God. And if I see tears, I'm like, okay, mission accomplished. I made it. No, but if we're not doing it for the glory of God, why are we doing it? I mean, he gave us these gifts for him, for his kingdom, for not just his people, but the people of the earth that need to hear the gospel, that need to know God, not of God, know God. And you are the method and the means for them to hear it, see it, feel it, perhaps for the first time, perhaps for the first time in an extremely long time. That matters.
Guys, like, you can do a lot with ministry in the arts. There's a lot you can do. Like, this is just been us talking about, like, our experiences with it. And again, some, like with mine, some of it was Christian, some not. Same for Gabby. But ultimately, right now, we chose to take what we know and we're using it for the betterment of God. We're using it to lead others. And, like, even just one of our friends, Gabby, felt led to have them, to invite them to come audition. They didn't even go to our church.
And now they do.
Yeah, they literally, she invited them to join the cast. She just had a gut feeling about it, or spiritual feeling, whatever have you. And she invited her and her 2 kids, and the daughter was immediately interested, and then so was the mother, and
she was too, yeah.
Yeah, they joined. Well, then even the son, he was like, it's not really my thing. I want to be, but he's like, but I'll help backstage. And then he came this last week at one of the practices, and I mean, he was sitting there, and I could see it. He was getting antsy, like he's like, and so I was like, you want to go up there and for like be an extra or something like that? And then he was into it.
He asked me for a script when he got there. Like, I had given it to everybody except him because he wasn't a part of the cast, but he wanted to read it. But a month or 2 prior, you know, when we were looking for people for the biblical scenes, I was like, he would be the only one that would work for Joseph. So I'm like, hey, do you think you would want to do it? And I didn't really get an answer back. And so when he was up on that stage as an extra, I'm like, hey, you want to be Joseph?
And I could see it. He was like, and
then he said, yeah. Like, he nodded and he agreed to it. And
like, the whole
his
time
mom was surprised that he actually agreed to. Just like, you sure? Like, you're good with it?
And I mean, like, he was having fun up there too.
Oh yeah.
And like, even like, again, they started coming to the church. He's wanting to learn more about the AV team and stuff like that, and how he can do more with that. Like, he's younger. He's like, what, 14 or something? But like, I see 13. I see that drive in him that I had when I was younger, of like, he wants to learn all that he can, and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's use that. Like, if you're, again, we're mostly young adults, but even as a young adult, if you have that drive, don't let anybody tell you cannot do it. And even if you're not, like, again, I was not that good of a dancer. It took practice, but I got there and I did good. I did good on that stage. And I loved it. Don't let anybody discourage you from, because you can always learn things. You can always better your skills.
You need to always grow.
Exactly.
You can't
don't let somebody else tell you what you can be skilled in. If you have a gift for the arts, or you have a love for it, and you're like, I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't act. It doesn't matter. Give it a shot. And again, it's practice.
And you might fail, and that's okay. But like I have said, know yourself. Know who you are, what you're good at, what you love to do, what you're passionate about, and figure out a way to grow in that. And that could maybe even become your career path. Love what you do and do what you love, but always remember why you're doing it.
I'm telling you guys that it really, you might not think much of it, but as some people who have been doing it for a while now, both on stage and behind the scenes, like, and talking to people, we've seen people get saved, come to church because of ministries like this, because of the arts. And it's like, in the school, the arts are always thrown to the wayside. If something's going to get cut, it's always going to be music or dance or band. Yeah. They're always the first thing to get cut. But there are kids, like me, who that has something that draws me to things like this. It gets me involved. So if you or somebody you know wants to get involved, help them get involved, or get involved yourself. And now, granted, the arts is not for everybody. For example, sports are not for everybody. I'm not a sports fan. Sorry for the 2 of you who just turned off this podcast because of that. But most of you should know I'm not a sports fan, so it's not for me. And same thing. The arts are not going to be for everybody. But don't
let fear and anxiety stop you.
Stage fright is a myth.
Don't worry about what other people might think, especially if you're in middle school or high school and maybe you're worried about Because again, we might have younger people that maybe run across our podcast, or maybe you wanted to do it in middle school and high school, and you still have that inner child that's afraid to do it because you're afraid of what other people might think. And what if you're not good at it? What if you fail? What if you don't get chosen?
And that's the thing is like Gabby, even she was telling me when we first started to do this podcast, she was really nervous about it. And I'm like, you're not even being seen. She's like, I know, but I've never had to listen to my voice before.
Listen, I grew up disliking my voice.
And then stage fright. Stage fright is definitely a thing. I mean, but it's a thing you can overcome. Once you get confidence in yourself, or once you one thing that I love is when I danced, the stage lights pretty much, and how the rest of the house, like the stage house, is turned down. The only thing you can see is the stage and a blinding light in front of you. You can't see all the people in the audience. And honestly, those first few years, when I was put in the very front of the dances, that helped me because I couldn't see anybody looking at me. Meanwhile, when I was in theater, they had us auditioning in front of other people who were auditioning, and that added, yeah, it can be nerve-wracking, but if you don't try, you'll never know. And the way I like to think about it is think about when you're with your friends in a car or at a karaoke place, and you can't sing, but you're still doing it in front of all those friends. You aren't trying to impress anybody. You're just having fun. That's what you should be doing, is when you do this stuff, is having fun. If you're not having fun, then don't do it,
So, to have a full circle moment.
We love the arts.
The question is, why are the arts important in a church setting? And I will give my take on it is because God uses it as a means to draw people to Him.
Mm-hmm.
What's your take?
My take is that it's a way for people to get connected to the church. I mean, along with saving other people, it can draw people in who you normally wouldn't think they would. It can really open avenues for people. It can help them discover themselves more and help them realize parts of themselves. It's a very self-discovery thing, and it can help people get involved in the church in ways that they didn't think they could.
So the next time you're asked to audition, you've had that little inkling or maybe that inner desire that you've kept quiet, and someone brings up a play and they give you the opportunity to audition for dance, acting, singing, whatever it may be, or you want to be part of filmmaking and crew, whatever it is. Think about this. When they ask you, and you already know God's been telling you, take that step forward, say yes, and then see where that takes you.
I've had a lot of fun. Like, obviously, being one of my childhood, this is a topic that I really enjoy talking about.
I'm glad we got to talk about it. I'm glad that it came to mind. And I'm glad that we're both into performing arts because that was easy.
Yeah, because I was like, normally you want to bring on somebody who is into that thing to talk about it. Because if it was just me and I was talking about it and you're like, I have no relation to this, you're just going to be like not talking much. And you just be like, yeah. Again, I bring up the sports metaphor. If somebody brought up that to me. It's like if somebody wants to talk about sports on this podcast, I will gladly hand over the mic to that person and I'll leave. I'll have nothing to add. Well, guys, if you like this podcast, if you like what we're talking about or have something you want us to talk about, or you didn't like any of that or whatever, leave us a note. Email us at thegrowingplacepodcast@gmail.com. We hope you guys enjoyed. See you later.
See you later.
Bye.